Thank you very much for that introduction. I will get it soon enough to unmute. But I'd like to welcome everybody to this Small Business Council meeting. We're so excited with all the activity going on related to our small business community and the activity from so many of our partners to ensure that we get our small businesses up and running. And I'm so excited about today's program, and I'll introduce our guest speaker in just a bit, but wanted to make sure you knew the team that is behind all the work here at the Chamber, our Small Business Council team. You'll be hearing from them later on today, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew that we're so grateful for the leadership of our Small Business Council chair and our co-chairs. This council is being chaired by Michael Ochoa, accompanied with the co-chair with Shanae Rourke and Kevin Keene. And we could not be more excited about having that team of three lead us during this time that is so important for small business members. Internally at the Chamber, you all know that our team is led by Andrea Nunn, who's a force in the small business community, along with our Vice President, Jason Cordova, and you already met our Senior Program Coordinator, Alejandra Orozco. They're a small but mighty team that are definitely the biggest advocates for the small business community, this entire team of six. So I wanted to make sure that I introduced them to you. Moving on to the next slide, I wanted to share a little bit about what does it mean to have small business at the LA Area Chamber of Commerce. This is one of our most important pieces of work that we do. You know, when we talk about the fact that we want to be able to develop, to support the growth and development of small businesses, that we want to be an advocate, whether it's federal, state, or local advocacy for legislation that supports small businesses, that we want to collaborate and work with community partners and governments and businesses and agencies, corporations, the whole gamut that are out there to help support small businesses, that we want excellence in the best practices, that we can highlight and share what successful small businesses are doing and share those best practices, that we can monetize and identify opportunities and facilitate, especially around the procurement opportunities. And I'm sure you'll hear more about that throughout the program. And connecting. We know that aligning key stakeholders to build and enhance relationships are at the core of our business and to be able to succeed in this new economy that we're going to emerge into. Informing and sharing critical information throughout our network and amplifying the work, the resources and information that is available is something that is very important to the Chamber and something that is at top of mind for us. So again, you know, wanting to give you all a regional overview. You all know this, we share this all the time, where we know that in LA County, about 93% of the businesses have less than 20 employees. So when we think about that, we really take that into account in all our policy work that we do, into our program work that we do. And we know that in LA County, that a majority of that, I think it's about 55% of that, are women and minority-owned businesses. So we have a very special role to play here in Los Angeles. And, you know, when it comes to the reopening strategies, to reimagine what economic recovery is going to look like, we know that all those elements will lead to resilience, because we have great faith in our small business community. We've seen amazing stories, and we're just so excited to continue the journey with all of you to ensure that our small business community is just, you know, robust and ready to go. So let me just, before we move on to our program, I did want to highlight another activity that we're doing on Monday, and that's a conversation with Facebook's Sheryl Sandberg. Facebook has a lot of small business programs that they have instituted. They've done surveys, they've done really interesting information sessions about how to support the small business ecosystem in Los Angeles. So we're going to get into that conversation. I wanted to make sure to mention it here in this audience because it ties in to what we're talking about at the Chamber in terms of making sure that we're getting information out, how even a big company like Facebook has very specific small business initiatives. One other thing that I wanted to mention, we just made this announcement this past week, but the LA Chamber, along with our partners with LAEDC, LISC LA, the Institute for Sustainable Development, the Dr. Lucy Jones Center, the City of Los Angeles, the County of Los Angeles, we're a collaborative that have called us ourselves the Together for LA. We were winners of Wells Fargo's Open for Business grant. So that grant is going to allow us to do more and more work in the small business space, especially to support our very small businesses, our very small, diverse businesses here in Los Angeles. Very excited about that initiative. So now let's get to our guest of honor. I could not be more excited, not only to welcome to the Chamber, to officially welcome to the Chamber, Lynn Gray. She's the director of the Office of Small Business Advocate. And many of you know that that is part of the GoBiz office at the state of California. And Lynn has been with the organization, I would say this is probably, she's going probably on her second month, but in just the few weeks that she has been there, she's already taken charge and taken really bold steps to ensure that she is meeting throughout the state of California with the small business stakeholders, not only in Northern California and the Central Valley, but here in Los Angeles. We've had the opportunity to visit with her a couple of times, and I could not be more just thrilled that she's here with us today. Many of you know that the state of California has many resources, that the governor has set aside great programs for the small businesses, and many of that falls under her purview. So I would like to welcome Lynn, and without further ado, let me just pass it over to her because I'm excited to have her here and let her share with all of you the great work that she's doing. Lynn.
Thank you, Maria. And thank you to your fabulous team. The entire LA Area Chamber of Commerce team is great and providing fabulous support. So super, super excited. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this very important event for all of the advocates that are working on behalf of California's Southern Region small businesses. I always say that advocacy is the key to beginning any lasting change. We need advocates to conceive of new ideas, to get them legislated, and ultimately to get them implemented. And your diverse network of partners is doing exactly that. And I'm just really excited to be here today and to celebrate the California economic recovery that is around the corner. I swear, I hear a roar coming. So, as Maria said, my name is Lynn Gray. I am the director of the California Office of the Small Business Advocate, which is in the Governor's Office of Business and Economic Development per government code. Cal OSBA serves as the principal advocate in the state on behalf of small businesses, representing their views and interests, disseminating information to them, and advising on state programs and regulations. Prior to my appointment by the governor, I was the chief executive officer of the Fresno Metro Black Chamber of Commerce and Chamber Foundation, where I reorganized a small nonprofit into a community-based enterprise with a budget just over $10 million. And as a small business advocate in that role, I was keenly focused on coalition building, policy, and inclusive economic growth for local entrepreneurs and small businesses. In that role, I understood the value of like-minded community-based organizations like the LA Area Chamber with real boots on the ground, providing services to people who simply want to realize the California dream for themselves and their families. And as director of the Cal OSBA, I hold those experiences and those priorities close. Our Cal OSBA mission is to help support economic growth and innovation in California by working to ensure that its small businesses and entrepreneurs have the resources they need to start up, connect to capital, connect to markets, and to grow their businesses. And in alignment with Governor Newsom's focus on building a California for all, my office is committed to creating inclusive entrepreneurial and small business ecosystems to eliminate the opportunity gaps that we know exist across regions, zip codes, race, and gender. We have three primary objectives in my office aligned to achieve our mission. Our first objective, we are a resource provider, providing easily accessible information, training, consulting, tools for small businesses. The tools include direct assistance, content, funding, a network of small business centers to help small businesses start, grow, and scale. Second, we're an advocate, as our name implies. By serving as the voice of small business and entrepreneurship across the state, my office is in a position to advocate for the needs and the priorities of small businesses. So to that end, we're convening experts to address barriers to markets, networks, and resources. And of course, we partner with the private sector to create market solutions for problems that small businesses face. And we know that one of those problems is access to capital, and the state has programs to help. To improve access to capital, Cal OSBA is advocated across private and corporate philanthropy, the financial sector, and within state government to help promote investments in capital programs to support small business recovery, like California Rebuilding Fund. And most recently, on April 29th, Governor Newsom signed a bill that will give small businesses hit hardest by the pandemic a $6.2 billion tax cut over the next 6 years. And this, I feel, yes, this I feel is a critical lifeline that will help get our small businesses back on their feet and an important component of California's economic recovery strategy. And under this legislation, the forgiven PPP loans that businesses received from the federal government during the pandemic will not be counted as taxable income. And these businesses can also deduct the costs of expenses that those loans paid for. So that's really kind of a double whammy right there, and very significant financial help. But I'll tell you what, we recognize that it's not just about capital. We also need to emphasize building our small business revenues. I've always said the best way to grow a small business is to get them revenue, get them contracts. And so Cal OSBA focuses on access to government marketplaces and private supply chains to support small business in state procurement issues. So we engage on the small business committees at Caltrans and DGS, Department of General Services, as well as provide access to the agency-assigned small business advocates as we prioritize procurement training across our small business centers. Our third and final strategic objective is advancing resilience. Let's face it, COVID-19 is not the last threat that we will experience. So my office will continue to make resiliency a core priority, expanding business resilience and supporting disaster recovery. Swift action and courage are required to protect our residents and our businesses. And I personally think that we've seen that courage in our governor, and that we are being rewarded right now with the lowest positivity rates in the nation. And having vaccinated over 22 million people with their first dose and 16 million with the second dose, I think we're well on our way to immunity and poised and primed for recovery. So we have disaster recovery resources online, and I'm happy to share those with you all as well. But let's get to the meat and potatoes, right? With California being home to 4.1 million small businesses, representing 99.8% of all businesses in the state and employing 7.2 million workers in California, approximately 50% of the state's total workforce. It shouldn't be lost on any of us that California has given small businesses the tools to create quality jobs with access to retirement through CalSavers, access to healthcare through Covered California, and paid leave. So irrespective of a small business employer's ability, they have the ability to offer quality jobs because no longer are quality benefits tied to the employer. So California small businesses can and do compete and continue to be the drivers of economic growth and mobility, creating 2/3 of net new jobs and employing nearly half of all private sector employees in the state. That's something to celebrate. And in that vein, I want to talk about the $2.5 billion in economic recovery grants that are on their way to the smallest and hardest hit entrepreneurs in the state, who are earning less than $2.5 million in revenue annually. And thus far, those grants have gone to overwhelmingly low to moderate income individuals, women, and rural entrepreneurs. The program is currently closed after 6 rounds, but our governor's comeback plan invests an additional $1.5 billion into this program. And if approved, that means that it will go to $4 billion in direct grants, the largest program of its kind in the nation. So here's the time to say thank you to your network and over 500 partners who are supporting Lindustry, our intermediary, in helping eligible small businesses apply for recovery funds. Before I close, let me talk really quickly about Cal OSBA priorities moving forward. We have Source Diverse, Source Local, a public-private collaboration to strengthen inclusive procurement programs and build a resilient California-based supply chain. This program starts with on-demand workshops to learn the basics of selling to big business and has a contract readiness accelerator planned and coming soon. We will continue our work with Get Digital California, which is Cal OSBA's initiative offering technology learning center, digital boot camps, online tools, and digital pop-up festivals to promote e-commerce adoption and build skills for our small businesses to compete online. We have some other items proposed in the budget that are important to strengthening supports for small business technical assistance and resources. The Dream Fund, which proposes $35 million to provide startup and expansion grants to eligible small businesses that go through an eligible technical assistance program. And Maria, you and I have talked a lot about quality technical assistance, which, we know that access to capital is a significant need, but without that technical assistance, our small businesses can't make their way. We also have the iHub2 program, which is $2.5 million to relaunch this program. It's renamed the Inclusive Innovation Hub program, iHub2. And we're hoping with this program to incentivize a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion in the state's tech and science-based startup ecosystem. So those are some of the priorities. Additionally, we will be looking at the Small Business Credit Initiative, the 895 million that is coming down from the federal government to make additional capital available to our small businesses. And I think that about sums up the major programs. I think I am out of time, and it is time for a few questions.
Yeah, great. Tara, this is Mike Ochoa. You know what? I just want to say, in just two quick interactions with you, your passion, all the good that you're going to do, but your smile, your passion, we appreciate you being here. Two quick questions for you that I'm taking, and any other questions, if you can put them in the chat, and we'll make sure to get them over to Tara Lynn, to all the small businesses. But one, you mentioned targeting the underserved communities and all the great programs. How are you guys reaching out to these if there's a digital divide and they don't have access to some of the digital resources? What are you guys doing to outreach to some of those underserved communities?
We are leveraging our network, frankly, and leveraging partners like you. And I will say this, after having spent the last 4 years working in California's heartland in the Central Valley, a native Californian, raised in the Bay Area, had no idea the difficulty that some of our regions have experienced because of things that you are mentioning right now. The digital divide is real. The regional divides are real. The life of immigrant business owners is real. The challenges that are faced are real. And so we cannot serve those folks and to start to close that divide without leveraging partners exactly like LA Area Chamber. And so our solution is really to strengthen the network of technical assistance providers. We can provide access to funding, but we can't get the funding to the street without our partners.
Yeah, no, that's great. And as an adjunct to that, if you could just maybe expand on how the LA Chamber and our small business region, how can we be more of a support to you? If you can highlight maybe anything that comes to mind, because we're here as a partner. So if there's any perspective that you might have for that.
Well, can I say, just keep trucking, keep doing what you guys are doing. I have learned about your technical assistance program, Maria, and I have discussed it in depth. And I'm so just proud of how well you all are providing one-on-one TA services and in a very innovative way. I am a fan of cohort-based TA. I am a fan of digging deep and really preparing the entrepreneur's mindset. Entrepreneurship is a family affair. It really is. And so many of our entrepreneurs put their entire life on the line and into whether it's their life savings, whether it is employing their children and spouse or parents and other people in their business. Their entire life is wrapped up in the business. And so I feel that in order to provide the right kind of TA, we have to speak to all of that. We have to speak to all of the issues that affect small businesses. That's whole, mind, body, soul. It encompasses housing. I mean, when you consider that 50% of all small businesses in the state of California are home-based businesses, housing becomes an element that affects entrepreneurship. So how do you help? You keep your eyes and your ears open. You advocate for policy. I don't get to do that part of the job anymore, but I can create programs and run programs that empowers the network of providers and partners like LA Area Chamber. And so I would just say continue to be a great partner, continue to feed back to us. I want to listen and hear what's happening. Feed back to me and my team what's really going on with our small businesses, because nobody knows that better than the folks who are on the ground serving them.
That's exactly right. Well, Tara Lynn, I know that we're out of time. We have a number of great questions that we're going to pass along to you and your team. But again, on behalf of all of the LA Area Chamber and the small businesses in the region, we look forward to continued partnership, and we thank you for your time today and explaining. We also are going to put your website and some of the programs in the chat, because we want you all to access these great programs and resources and all the good that Tara Lynn and her team is doing. So again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tara Lynn. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome.
All right. So at this point, we're going to move on. I'd like to introduce and transition to one of my colleagues who's been such a big support. Shanae Rourke is part of this Small Business Council. She's going to highlight some of the great work that we're doing at the LA Chamber and working regarding policy and a program called Access DC. And go over some of the ways that we're supporting small businesses in alignment with the strategic goals. So Shanae, I want to pass it over to you for your insights on the successes that we've been having.
Thank you so much, Michael. And that was so great to hear from Tara Lynn Gray. Really exciting things that are going on at the state, and looking forward to seeing some of that matriculate down here to our region. I want to share this morning some information about Access DC and give you an update on what recently happened. Some of you may have attended. This is our annual Chamber advocacy trip to DC. This year it was online. As a member, you also have access to some of the sessions, including the keynote. So please reach out for that. Advancing small business recovery was a main topic of the year, as you can imagine. Maria talked about the number of businesses in the area, and that 93% of them are all mom and pop small businesses, and 55% are women and minority, which is the largest in the country, which really speaks a lot to the opportunities and availabilities here in our local area. Additional highlights from Access DC include a push to mandate for set-asides in contracting. We've heard a little bit about that here at the state level as well as technology innovation, also coupled with closing the digital divide. Those are all things that you've heard about also from Ms. Tara Lynn Gray today. Look for this great event, Access DC, every year from the Chamber, and hopefully you can attend next year as well. And hopefully it'll be in person. Michael, Kevin, and I, along with the great Chamber team of Andrea, Alejandra, and Jason, really, our Small Business Council is your Small Business Council. We're glad to have you here today and want to share the main drivers of our council work. One is Small Business Strong, as you've heard about. It's designed to provide businesses with practical tips, techniques, and solutions from experts to survive in today's economy and with the economic crisis that we are facing here in our region. One LA, it's a program. Andrea did put some information in the chat. Please look at that link as well. It's a program for pathways to contract opportunities for local, small, and diverse businesses. Cohort 2 starts later this year. So please get the information, put in the chat if you would like more information as well. It's a great program to help elevate you. We provide small businesses with mentorship, with training and relationship building for growth and economic mobility. We do this also through our Doing Business With, which is our monthly series that you may have heard about, as well as our training program, which I just mentioned in that cohort starting later this year. Partnerships are also another way that we do this through collaborative partnerships, including with our SBA partnership. So if you are not a member of the Chamber, we invite you to consider membership in the Chamber. We'll have Pat Clark's name added to the chat as well, so you can reach out to her for membership information and contact her to become a member. I always say passion amongst ourselves is passion. but passion amongst a collective with the power of the chamber behind us is a massive tool that all small businesses should be able to leverage, and we can leverage. And for those of you who are members of our chamber, our voice is your voice, and encourage you to also get involved. Coming through COVID, economic recovery, dealing with our top small business priorities in the region is something we want to do together. So join us. In conclusion, the Chamber, as we mentioned, collaborates with a number of partners and organizations. Two of them are here, will be moderating today. One is the Greater Los Angeles African American Chamber of Commerce with the President, Angela Gibson Shaw, here today, as well as USC in the Business Diversity and Economic Opportunity, Michelle Turner, who is the Associate Vice President. They're both going to be moderating a couple of our panels, and we encourage you to get involved with our partners to grow and to thrive. Michael, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Shanae. And just to add on to that, the membership with the LA Chamber goes far beyond what we can do to connect and help businesses thrive. The partnerships and the spirit of what we do is part of this next section, which is for us to listen. This pandemic has hit us all very hard. And one of the main key priorities for us with the Chamber was to be intentional with what we're doing in our work and to listen to what the needs are and some of the pain points. So we're going to turn this over to get a little bit more specific about what the needs are of the small businesses in the region. And we're going to start with doing a poll that's now up on your screen. And if I could ask everyone to take a minute or so to reply to this poll, and then we'll tally things up and it will segue us into the next part of the session, which will be a breakout. So we'll take a minute or so, and Alejandra, your show to let us know when we're ready.
I see a lot of you responding. We have 22, 23, they're still climbing. We'll give about 30 more seconds for everyone to respond. Keep them coming, everyone. We want to hear from you. Thank you. Please be sure to keep responding. We have 32 out of 55 so far. Okay, that is a minute now. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Not everyone answered, but for those of you that did, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the results for you to go ahead and take a look at. Mike here.
All right. So 61% access to capital and access to procurement opportunities was 55%, so close second. So that's great. And we will kind of dive into this in the breakout session as well. But part of this, going into our next slide, is, as we mentioned, is small business pain points. Okay, and what we are looking at is all of these meetings that we have. When we look at the chat, we want to hear from you as far as your pain points. And the main pain points that came across over the last several quarters was, one, regulatory relief. How can we create a business environment that allows small businesses to recover and thrive, including the reprieve of taxes, fees, and other financial burdens, an important pain point. Procurement opportunities, as you see here at 55%, increase access to procurement with agencies, government utilities, and other corporations. Funding, access to capital, enhancing funding for grants, low interest rate loans, guidance on applications and appeals. There's so many program partners of the Chamber that have these financial funding opportunities really dialed in and resources that can help pull them through. And then we're really trying to help bridge the gap between organizations that are the buyers in our region and the small businesses to be able to help those small businesses grow, thrive, and access funding. And then from a marketing perspective, Tara Lynn talked about the digital divide. And during the pandemic, we found that many of the small businesses had shortcomings to be able to market effectively, market digitally. And we want to be able to close the gaps to be able to help transition small businesses and their marketing strategies in alignment with our goals. And then technical support, the ability to scale through back office functions, whether that might be legal, whether that might be accounting. There's several opportunities for us to be able to help you with the pain point of technical support. Without further ado, we're gonna now transition. If I can ask everybody to close out that poll and take a quick screenshot. If you can just back up one quick second, Alejandra. If you can take a quick screenshot of this slide here, because this will help support our dialogue and discussion in the breakout session. And then we will be breaking out and you'll have one of your moderators that will be able to talk about. But if I can again emphasize, please be specific. We went through some of the macro level pain points. If we can get specific with what's affecting your business the most. Okay, great. And as always, several of the resources that we talked about in the breakout to be able to provide solutions are being put into the chat. And I just want to close things with some announcements. First, Maria mentioned earlier, Monday, June 14th at 2:30 will be a virtual fireside chat or with a meeting with Sheryl Sandberg of Facebook. Please tune in for that. I've been very pleasantly surprised with all the great opportunities that Facebook as a partner to the Chamber has provided for small business. And then additionally, I will be hosting and moderating the Small Business Summit on June 24th, which is going to have a focus on securing early stage funding, which is, I know, very important to many small businesses and unicorn businesses that are in our region. We're looking at providing input on how to find investors, how to approach that to get a company off and running, to get some and to secure some funding for your small business. So please tune in for that on June 24th. I believe that closes and concludes. I do want to give another shout out to Michelle Turner of USC and Angela Gibson Shaw of GLAC for participating and being a partner and a moderator. So yes, thank you so much to all of the LA Chamber, to my colleagues, Kevin Keene and Shanae Rourke. Thank you so much for your input and support of the small businesses. We hope that if you're not part of the LA Chamber, that you continue to be involved with us, access the resources, and join us at some point. And if you are already an LA Chamber member, we thank you and continue to commit to you to help you thrive and recover in the midst of this pandemic. So thank you again and have a great, wonderful Thursday afternoon. Take care.
Bye, everyone.